Welcome everyone to part 2, recording your podcast. In this video, I'm going to very quickly go through the process of recording your audio that you'll eventually use to edit together your episode. And the general breakdown of this is I'm going to go through a couple of quick procedures in terms of first how to record audio from your phone, how to record audio on your computer using Audacity or GarageBand, and finally how to record audio using Zoom if you're going to have multiple speakers interacting with one another. After that, I'll also show you how to get those audio files into your Microsoft Teams site so that other teammates will have access to them and that you'll eventually be able to share them amongst one another and your peers. As a note, there are many ways to record and edit together a podcast. What I'm going to be showing you are only a few methods. There are so many others. Most individuals who end up putting together text like this learn to do it by experimenting and seeking out tutorials. So I would encourage you to remember your information literacy skills from the first semester. And if you run into a problem, if you run into a roadblock, for instance, I'm going to show you how to record on an Apple iPhone. I don't have an Android, the process is similar, but if you do run into a problem, you might want to go to Google and just simply search for how to record and share audio on an Android. I'm going to show you one method, but it is not the only way. All right, so first I'm going to show you how to record audio on your phone. And for this, I'm just going to make use of the script that I had for the podcast episode that went out to everyone. So it's relatively simple. On an iPhone, you already have an app called Voice Memos, which is actually all that you need to get audio up on your Teams. And so basically in Voice Memos, you can just start a new recording. And I'm just going to read a paragraph of this. So making your content relevant for a broader audience goes well beyond slapping a fresh coat of paint on what's already there. In other words, start by blocking out your content sections. You've got around 15 minutes to fill, and you want to make those 15 minutes impactful and persuasive. So let's just say I went and read through more. I've got this recording. I can actually go and rename it. So let's say talking about audience, part 1 here. And once you've got that, what you can then do is upload that to your Teams. And so there's a pretty easy way of doing this. What you're going to want to make sure is that first you have the Teams app on your phone. That's going to make this a lot easier. In Voice Memos, if you just click on these 3 dots, then click on Share, what you'll be able to do is you'll see Teams here. And if Teams is not in that list, if you click on More, it should appear in this list. So when you click on Teams, you're going to have an option to upload this text somewhere. Now, what you can do is on this To section is simply search for your team. So for example, I know I've got one team that is named Team Shrek, but I also have one that I've set up called Team Sample Project. And so what you can do is, here is my content on audience. If you click send, that is going to take your audio and upload it to the docs section of your team. So then if we go into Teams, in Teams, you'll search out your team. And if I click on sample project, you'll see, oh, here is my content on audience part 1. And if you click on that, it's going to automatically start making playing. Your content relevant for a broader audience. You'll have that audio. Additionally, it will appear in the files section of your team as well. And this is going to be useful for later. So once you've done that, you've got your audio already uploaded into your Teams where your teammates can view it and eventually can actually edit it together into a final text. So you're set. That is one way of doing this. The audio quality on your phone might not be the best, but you're not being evaluated on audio quality. You don't have to have a special microphone. It's more about the preparation that goes into the scripting. So don't worry about that. That's generally how to record and upload audio on your phone. All right, so next I'm going to show you how to record audio on a computer using either GarageBand or Audacity. If you have a Mac, then you have access to GarageBand, and Audacity is free open source software. I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to the editing portion of this. Right now, we're just concerned about getting audio recorded as simply as possible. So first off, I'm going to show you this in GarageBand. So opening up GarageBand, what you can do is there's a number of templates, but if you go into project templates, you might have voice, but in an empty project, if you open that up, you'll be relatively set. And so here I'm going to choose just to record using a microphone, input, and create. If you're opening up GarageBand on its default settings, you'll see this purple 1, 2, 3, 4 and this metronome. You'll want to turn those off just because otherwise you'll have a metronome going behind your audio. It won't be audible to your audience, but it might know you use your recording. So automatically here we have an audio file. So it's already ready to go. You can see it's reading the inputs off of my laptop speakers. You can see here it's the built-in microphone. So now I'm just going to record, and then I'll go back and read more from that script. So recording. All right. I'd estimate that 70% of this project involves crafting the script. If you can do that, then the remainder of it is going to be easy and straightforward. The technological side of this is instrumental, and you'll have tutorials to help you. You also have thousands upon thousands of YouTube videos at your disposal, but without a strong script, no technological flourishes are going to save your podcast. Come back here, stop this. You'll see that we've got this audio file, the waveform signals that it's been recording. You can go back and play it to test it out. I'd estimate that 70% of this project... All right, so that's working. And later on, you'll even see some ways of getting rid of this excess content. I'm just going to do that quickly here. And now, let's say again, you've recorded a while, you've got material that you want to upload. The first thing that you're going to want to do is export this. And the way you're going to do that is by clicking on Share and Export Song to Disk. It's going to bring up a number of different options. All of them will work. I'd recommend the MP3 format. And let's talk about, what did I even say? This is about scripting part 1. And we're going to export this. I'm just going to put it on my desktop. All right. And so now you have an audio file on your desktop. That's going to be scripting part 1. So the way to get this into your teams is relatively simple. You're going to see here, I've got my general team sample project open. And one, you can just click and drag this into the file section of your team. Or if you click on upload files, you can locate it in your browser. This will work on Mac or PC. And upload it. All right, so now we have scripting part 1 that is uploaded. If I click on that. All right, I'd estimate that 70% of this project. Okay, so it's working, which means that your teams now have access to that as well. Audacity is very much the same, and so I'm just going to go through this really quickly. What you'll want to do is open up a new project. Click on record, give it access to your microphone, and again, it will work. So back to the script. The secret here is that writing underlies nearly every creative and intellectual pursuit in our world. The best TV shows, they're meticulously written and rewritten until they're nearly perfect. So you don't want your podcast to be a Game of Thrones, right? Is that still a relevant resource? Reference, rather. So I'm gonna hit stop. You've got this file. Here, what you can do is go to File, Export. Export is MP3 or WAV. And let's do scripting part 2. And once again, we're going to go save this on the desktop. Click OK through that. And you'll see here we've got a scripting part 2. Once again, the way of uploading this into your teams is exactly the same. You can click and drag or do the file upload, just drag that there. And so now we have scripting part 2. Okay, so you already have multiple pieces here together. We'll talk a little bit about organization in a bit. What I am going to recommend that you do is actually create a folder for your podcast raw audio. And there's going to be a reason related to the prototype here. So we can select all of these, click on move, and we move them into this podcast raw audio folder, just to keep things kind of clean. All right. And the final way I'm going to talk to you about recording your podcast audio is going to actually be making use of Zoom. However, this does give you a really easy way of getting together and recording your audio as a group. So if you want to have any kind of conversational back and forth between your hosts, this is one way to do that. And one person only needs a free account. Up here, there's an option to host a meeting with video off or on. It doesn't really matter. You're going to be working with a podcast, so I'm just going to do this with video off. When you click on that, it's going to ask you to install a quick app and then open it for you. Again, if you've used Zoom at all, this shouldn't be too strange. And now we're in a Zoom meeting, and you've got 40 minutes of free time to speak with your peers. And what's really nice about this is at the bottom, this record button. Even with a free account, you can record. And so this is basically anything that's said in this room will be exported to a final file. So hey there, friends, this is me talking to me about the process of making a podcast. And you can just imagine this is me as another person responding to that person. So again, it's just a way of recording conversational audio with your team members. So if you want to have a conversation, you can do that. Now, what I'd recommend is you do not want your entire podcast to be nothing but conversation that's unscripted or unoutlined with your peers. You can have interaction, but you do want to make sure that you've tailored this into a very, edited text. And we'll come back to that later. But for now, let's showcase how this works. So at any point, you can stop the recording. And when you end your meeting, what it's going to do is export your recording to a local space on your computer. So it might take a little while depending on how long it is, but we're going to click save here. And then what you'll see is it should open up the folder under this session that we had dated right now. You've got a video as an MP4, but the audio only, that is your audio from that session. So let's take this, drag it onto our desktop, and maybe let's pretend that this was conversation part 1. Now we've got conversation part 1.mp4, and if we click on this and open it with QuickTime or whatever else, to me about the process of making a podcast. And you can just imagine this. All right, so we've got that audio. The way to upload this is the exact same as with Audacity and GarageBand. You go into your team. I'm going to go into podcast raw audio, even here. I'm just going to drag this in. So conversation part 1. That's going to upload and you'll have your audio saved. And so that kind of wraps up the 3 major ways of putting together audio on a phone using Audacity or GarageBand or Zoom for a conversation. There are many other ways of recording audio. So if you've done something different already, don't worry, it's not wrong. As long as you can get that file uploaded into Microsoft Teams, you are set. A couple final reminders, try to have fun with the process. You're not being engaged on the quality of the audio. It's more about the effort that's gone into crafting your outline for the text and making sure that it appeals to your audience. You also don't have to worry about reading something through exactly correctly the one time only. Again, if you make mistakes, if you have a lot of filler words, stuff like, it doesn't matter. You can edit those out later, and we'll talk about that in the next video. So remember that your outline is really the most important part of this. You want to have a direction for this podcast episode. And for the moment, all of your audio, treat it like a rough draft. Just get something down, get something uploaded. The prototype is really the equivalent of a shitty first draft of this project. So I hope this is helpful. I'll be back to you with another video on editing shortly, but right now focus on your script and then play around with recording and uploading those materials to your Microsoft Teams.